Okay, so question 1A, part 3 now. So question says, clearly describe any significant features in the sample distribution of the number of caps for both Australia and New Zealand rugby players. Note any similarities and differences as well as any unusual features. All right, so this question here is pretty much just asking you to analyze. All right, so if you remember back to the multivariate papers that you did, this question just wants you to look at all the different things. So a list of things that you could look at are things like shape, shift, spread, centers, and of course they've actually mentioned here unusual features would be a good one to do too. So let's look at each of these. Okay, so when we talk about shape, we talk about things like distribution, how it's distributed, and whether or not there is any skew. So both Australia and New Zealand have a right skew, and potentially New Zealand's is bigger. Okay, so they both have a right skew. Most of the data is clumped to the left, as you can see. And you may want to talk about any clusters as well. New Zealand, well, let's look at Australia first. So Australia has a cluster probably around about 67, just around about here somewhere. There's a bit of a cluster there, maybe there. So New Zealand, Australia has a cluster around 67 to 74 caps, and New Zealand around probably just this bottom end here, really. So 55 to 60 caps. Okay, so that's shape. All right, now let's talk about shift. So shift is really the box itself. Okay, so the Australian box is shifted to the right of the New Zealand box. So Australian middle 50% is shifted to the right of the New Zealand 50%. Sorry, middle 50%, meaning middle 50% of Australia is higher, which is kind of obvious in terms of caps. Okay, that's pretty basic. Spread. So we've talked about spread. So Australia has a larger interquartile range, but New Zealand has a bigger total range. And then this kind of leads into the unusual features a bit, largely because one New Zealand player earned was it 148 caps, which is more than, well, much more, I think is more the important thing, than others, and skews significantly. Okay, now I'm kind of running out of room here, but we can also talk about centers. So you want to talk about the median. So just roughly, I'm going to talk to you about that quickly. So the median for Australia is 80 compared to the median of 66. So it's slightly bigger, but it still lies within the interquartile range. And also the mean for Australia is larger than the mean for New Zealand. However, you know, it's normally distributed still, and it's not significantly different. Okay, so yeah, a few of the things that you can talk about.